So in this video we're going to solve these two fractional indice equations. So we've got x to the minus 7 over 3 equals 1 over 128 and x to the minus 4/3 equals 81. So how do we go about solving that? Well, as we've got negative fractional indices, what we're going to try and do is get our answers in the form of x equals. And x equals, that's x to the power of 1. So what we've got to try and do is to get these fractional indices to the value of 1. So first of all, we're going to work on the property of x to the power of m raised to the power of n equals x to the mn. So this is what we want to equal 1. So if mn equals 1, that's what we're looking for. So in this case, we've got minus 4/3. So if I write minus 4/3 here, we want to multiply that by some number to get 1. So what number would that be? Well, the easiest way is to take the reciprocal of this minus 4/3. So that'd be 3/4. And then we've got minus times a positive, which gives us a minus, which is still not there. So we then make this a minus. And then that's what becomes our magic number, so to speak, to make that into a 1. So what we're going to do now is raise both sides to the minus 3/4. So let's raise that to the minus 3/4, which means we then have to do that to keep the equation as we want. So then we know that gives us our x to the power of 1, and then we've got this one here. So then the next thing we need to do is to have a look at this minus 3/4. Now what we can do is, if we've got x to the power of minus m, that is the same as saying 1 over x raised to the power of m. So when we've got a minus, we can flip and take the reciprocal of what we've got here, and then that gives us 1 over x to the power of m. So we could rewrite that as x over 1, just to make it completely clear. So now what I'm going to do is to turn that to a positive. I'm going to take the reciprocal, make that positive. So then I've got 1 over 81 to the power of 3/4. Okay, now what I can do is break this 3/4 indice apart. So 3/4, we can write that as 3 times 1/4 is 3/4. So using that fact, we can go back to this property and apply it to this. So then we've got x equals, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the quarter inside. So then I've got 1 over 81, and then using this property here, I'm going to raise that to the quarter. So that's to the quarter, and then I'm going to raise the whole thing again to the power of 3. So if I put some different brackets in there and raise that to the power of 3, so I can see clearly what's going on. So now I'm going to apply that to this. So what can I do with that? Well, what's the quarter mean? Well, if I've got a number here, 1 over 81, what that means is the 4th root of 1 over 81. Okay, so now what I can do is I can invite the quarter into this, these brackets. So let's keep the square ones. Then I've got 1 to the power of quarter and 81 to the power of a quarter, and then that all cubed. So then now what I need to know is, what is that? A quarter of 81. So now I can rewrite this, the 4th root of 81. This one, whatever I raise 1 to the power of, I still get 1. So my numerator will stay as 1. And then 81, what's the 4th root of 81? So I need a number multiplied by itself 4 times to get 81. So if you go through this on a calculator or work it out for yourself, 3. So that becomes 3. So then we've got 1 over 3. And then we raise all of that to the power of 3. So then using this property where we bring the indice inside the bracket, so then that comes 1 to the 3 over 3 to the 3, Well, 3 to the 3 is 27, 1 to 3 is 1, so then I get 1 over 27. So that completes my first one. So x equals 1 over 27. So x equals 1 over 27. Now let's go through the same with these properties with this one here. So now I've got x to the minus 7 over 3. So let's put my working down on the side here. That's my properties of indices that I want to keep. And I want to get this mn to equal 1 using this. So what number do I need for minus 7 over 3 to be 1? So minus 7 over 3 times something equals 1. So take the reciprocal, 3/7, and as it's a minus, put another minus in there. So then raise everything to the minus 3/7. So minus 3/7 and minus 3/7. Okay, that just becomes a 1, so I can write x equals. This one, as I did here, I can just flip it. So if I flip that, I end up with 128. And then that would become to the power of 3 over 7. Okay, then like we did here, break that fraction apart, as it's a fractional indice. So then I get x equals 128 to the power of 1 over 7. So that can do that with that. And then multiply that by 3, because we've got 3 over 7 equals 3 times 1 over 7. So that's the 7th, so now raise that to the power of 3. So what number multiplied gives us 128? So what we're looking for is the answer to this. So multiply a number by itself 7 times to get 128. So if you go through the process of that, you'll get 2. Okay, so that then just becomes 2 in there, and then we'll raise that to the power of 3. So x equals 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3, well that's 2 times 2 times 2, so therefore x equals 8. And that's the answer to this one. X equals 8 on this side. X equals 1 over 27 on that side. Okay.